I was just gonna say, we talk about format stuff, like the format for the LEC. I want to look at the bracket really quick to actually see how this shakes up for Mad Lions. But they ended up making it into the winners bracket, right? And then yesterday, for those who watched, to segue into this topic, they ended up trolling basically their game against Astralis because it didn't matter, and they didn't need to like try hard, right? And
do people know the actual context though? Because the context is crazier than that, Wolf. Like, listen, there's been games. Sure. There's been games even in Korea where people agreed to troll the game, like that famous one where they played all the fucking Cloud Templar games against Team Dark or whatever it was.
To be fair, they did get banned from that tournament.
True. That's just Korea, isn't it? I mean, the joke earlier, I'm surprised Wolf didn't say it himself, maybe get in trouble, is of course Koreans don't like double limb. Koreans don't believe in second chances. Check out the fucking bank with you right now, mate. But anyway, to put that over one side, the point I was going to say was this, right? The thing that made this game more hilarious was that apparently the coach of the fucking Mad Lions did tell the coach of Astralis, like, yeah, we're probably going to have like a fun game here. But he just left it like open like that. And so apparently Zanzara, the Russian jungler of Astralis, didn't know that's what it meant. So when they were doing all these troll picks and role swaps, he just thought it was like the biggest BM of all time. So he was just getting mad triggered. Like, the guy wasn't having fun in that game. So even though it should have just been no throwaway game, and the debate now should be, should you do that? Should it count for the posterity? We can get into all that. Like, the actual context is even more ridiculous somehow. I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was actually watching the game with Brendan Valdez, who works on the LCK with me. And we've been watching Stand Up Late, watching a lot recently, just because we think the LEC is super interesting. And like, as soon as I was watching the draft, like, I texted him, like, because we don't actually like watch on Discord, we just kind of like text each other, like, what do you think of this? Like, would you see this? Like, what the hell was that? Stuff like that. And I showed him the screenshot of the draft, and like, I was like, I think this is kind of BM, like, I was like, is this okay? Like, is this allowed? And then I the more the game went on, the more I personally I personally find it in bad taste. Like, that's just my take. And especially with a team like Astralis, who's actually trying to like continue to use the rest of the regular season to improve. I mean, like, they're a bottom team. And if you're a bottom team, like, the worst feeling ever is always like, now not only am I like in this position where everyone thinks I'm the worst team, but also now this team is making fun of me. If you lose that, you're like insanely going to be like the laughing stock of the LEC, right? If you lose that, it's like hilariously bad for you. Like, it's so terrible. But then if you win, like, a lot of people are going to be like, well, this is like, these guys just don't like fun. I guess they're going to play standard. But you're also just like losing the chance to play against a Mad Lions, a top winners bracket team, and actually learn something, because we're about to go into like the dark off season right between, spring and summer, and no one's going to scrim Astralis. There's going to be so many other teams. Like, when MSI is rolling around, are you really be calling Astralis? Like, you guys are the ones we want to scrim, right? So for me, I the more I thought about it, the more frustrated I got, and I felt like really vindicated when Zanzara went on and he was really angry on the interview, because for me, I was like, yeah, I feel that too, right? Like, and maybe it's because I've lived in Korea too long, and this is like something that would be fined at least, or probably there'd be big repercussions if you did something like this nowadays. But for me, I'm like, in the integrity of the sport, like, it's really BM, like, and it's fun, sure. And if you think, oh, it doesn't matter, like, they can have fun if they want, I think some fans will appreciate that, right? For the show, it's kind of cool in that way. But in terms of like being the bigger team, I'm not a huge fan of it. I personally dislike the choice that Mad Lions went for. I don't know what you guys' takes are. I mean, Monty's kind of told me he doesn't think it matters already, but
all right. So here's my take. You don't deserve to learn from Mad Lions if you've been a trash can all season and you're playing an absolutely meaningless game. And to contrast this with things that I do take issue with. So in the example of Team Dark, which Thorin referenced before, where they played all of Cloud Templar's champions, that was actually a game that mattered, because even though they had been eliminated from contention in that season of champions, their opponents had there were playoff
it was kind of like you almost match fixed unintentionally, to use the fucking case meme, but it was accurate that time.
Yeah, so basically, like, the fact that they lost, Team Dark intentionally lost and gave another team a win, was impactful, which it wasn't in this case, right? If Mad Lions won or lost, if Astralis won or lost, it didn't matter. So I have less of an issue with it there. I also just don't think, like I said, that Astralis like deserves this opportunity. If you deserve the opportunity, then play better earlier in the season. Like, you reap what you sowed, in my opinion. And also in contrast, because I'm sure the other comparison that's going to come up is with the like LPL Oscar night, where both teams were intentionally trying to lose, but that was also bad because they were going into playoffs trying to dodge an opponent.
Yes.
They were both intentionally trying to lose so they wouldn't match up against a specific opponent. Who was
it? Was the same as the old. It was the same as the old KT versus fucking Frost one, where they did the same thing. Where they were trying to like avoid a team in OGN Spring 2030. It's the same scenario. So yeah, that one was dodgy because it literally, you were trying to play God with the bracket. Like, you're trying to avoid this particular opponent by losing. So that's even more egregious. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I have issues with those scenarios where we would have a potential change in a playoff bracket result from one team trolling or whatever in a game that is literally meaningless. Like, I thought it was funny. I don't really have an issue.
I feel bad for anyone who had money on that game or anyone who had channel points on that game.
Yeah, of course.
Because like the channel points you bet before the draft, like you're like, oh, bet all my channel points. This was going to be an easy like 20% gain. No, not anymore. I mean, there's been a lot of historical context for these types of games in esports. My favorite one is the Naniwa versus Nestea game that happened in, I think it was the Blizzard Cup in 2012, where Naniwa was already eliminated. But it was the matchup that everyone was. This is a completely different scenario where fans were actually upset because this was a matchup everyone really wanted to see. And actually, at the end of the day, Naniwa underperformed in the tournament and wasn't going to be able to get out no matter what. Just massively underperformed, big upsets, right? But he's still a great player. He had actually, right beforehand, said that Nestea was shit. I think literally those words at MLG. So it was like this big rivalry brewing. And then everyone was so excited, even though like in an ordinary scenario, everyone was like, well, that match
it was a grudge match. Yeah.
It was a grudge match, right? And then Naniwa just grabbed his probes and sent them across the map.
Just ran it down, basically. Yeah. Intentionally fed the game. Everyone in league knows the concept. Yeah.
And yeah, so everybody was very upset. I mean, some people thought it was funny. And Naniwa said in interviews many times later that he thought,
he also didn't get though, Wolf. Like, this is when you knew he'd only been in Korea to play StarCraft, because he didn't get what the concept of an honor-based culture is, and the idea that like you can't just disrespect people to their face in their country as a guest and expect that they're going to go cool, I guess. Like, it's not 4chan, mate. Like, you're talking about Korean culture.
I think to me, like, I think there is a certain I don't know what you even want to call it, like chivalry. I don't know what the word for this is. Honor. That's not the right word for you. Sportsmanship, sure, but there's a certain like code in terms of like what a professional game is to me, and I think sportsmanship is maybe the easiest way to define it. But to me, like in every game, you should play as competitively as possible. You should never try to humiliate your opponents. In like, yeah, sure, you could talk trash in interviews.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like you can talk trash in interviews. You can use an in-game crouch button to teabag somebody. I think
something that doesn't affect the gameplay. Yeah. Basically, you only humiliate them by beating them. You just don't throw the game, for example.
I think fans were excited about it, but like, if you're really a Mad Lions fan, wouldn't you be happier to see them like totally smash Astralis by playing standard and like just totally destroy them in a straight up game? Like, if I'm a Mad Lions fan, like, it was funny at first, but then I'm like, oh man, we lost to Astralis. Like, it's not funny anymore. Like, we lost, and like my players were trolling, and like, I don't know. I feel like it's somewhat disrespectful to the fans as well who wanted to watch that game. It's disrespectful to both teams' fans. That's my take, and I just wanted to put that out there because I feel like most people thought it was funny, but I think when I think at it from Zanzara's perspective, especially because he seemed to feel that there was an agreement that they were going to take it very seriously, but perhaps it was misinterpreted. That's up for debate. He thought it was going to be a serious game. The team thought it was going to be a serious game. And obviously, it did not end up being that. So that's something that happens in these formats, right? Where seeding doesn't really matter on like a fourth versus third versus second scenario as much. So, I think that's kind of a miss. And, we were on track to potentially have like the closest, LEC bracket of all time. It could have been a 5-way tie. Like, there were so many upsets in the last week of play. But it didn't end up happening, so this game ended up sucking. But
it's the first time in a while I think we haven't had any tiebreakers in either LCS and LEC. Might be the first time ever, actually.
Yeah, because it's a terrible format. Yeah. Here's the thing. My take actually, unfortunately, he sort of like undercut it there, unintentionally, obviously, because I purposely waited for you guys to give all your takes, because my take is kind of like what Wolf said at the end there, but a spin on it, which is like this. Listen, I'm totally fine in theory if the game doesn't matter. That's the crucial context that Monty pointed out. As long as the game doesn't affect like who plays who in the playoffs, who makes the playoffs, if another team makes the playoffs and I already made it and I'm basically match fixing, as long as none of that shit where it ruins the competitive integrity exists, I in theory don't mind. It's just, here's the problem. There will be consequences, but it will be how I remember the game. That's the consequence. Because in my opinion, to kind of tie to what Wolf said there, it's not that you have to try your absolute hardest. It's that, wouldn't you want to do that for yourself anyway in your career? Are you only really playing matches of League of Legends for the specific playoff spot that you get all the money? Are you not playing for excellence, to be great, to be the best that you can be, to showcase over your career how good you were at the video game? So in my opinion, the idea that in history, someone can look back now who didn't watch the game and go, wow, so Astralis actually beat Mad Lions that time and they were better than them at the end of the split, but didn't. No, you've actually ruined your own history there. Because here's the reason why you want to win. Because that's what champions do. Champions don't just want to win a game. They want to be the most dominant team in history. They want to win every game. Like, those T1 players aren't like joking in the past where they used to win the league anyway, but then when they lost like one game, be like, oh, well, we apologize, we'll do better. Like, they were actually shooting for the top. So what I would say is like, come on, the whole reason to be the best in the game is because that's the purpose of the game. The byproducts of success are byproducts. They come with being great. It's the same argument I always give. It's the edgiest argument of all time. Here's the reason why Tom Brady isn't the GOAT in the NFL. Where the fucking MVP's at? If you're the GOAT, you do it every day. Like Aristotle said, greatness is a fucking habit. It is not an isolated incident. Therefore, if you're the best, just show me every regular season game. Don't take games off. Don't just chill. Don't just let someone else win the MVP. MVP means the most valuable player. So if your opponent has 5 and you have 3, game over. That's it. That's the player award there. Nothing to do with teams on that one. So all I'll say on that is like, same scenario. If you want to fuck around, listen, the Mad Lions players don't care about this game. Astralis probably don't care about this game. Sure, they're not going to be the great players. But in theory, that is the reason you compete. Like, this isn't like a fucking joke tournament. Like, maybe those Astralis players will never be in LEC again. Maybe some of the Mad Lions players never will be again. You might look 1 year down the line and think, I mean, you won't, but in theory, you might think, oh, maybe I should have tried in that game. There's my take.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could have said it better. Like, I think you and I are pretty aligned in that regard. Like, that captured like what I was trying to say. Like, it's not sportsmanship. It's not like a code. It's just
the drive
you should
for
be
excellence.
Excellent. Yeah, you should be excellent, right? Like, you should play every game your best, and you should play to the meta, and you should play to what everyone watching, what the fans paid to see, right? When nobody's paying, this is not like a sports venue, but you know what I mean, right? Like, if this was pay-per-view, people would be upset. People would bet money on that game because I'm sure there's people out there who did that are probably very upset, right? But I mean, that's on them, But I mean, at the end of the day, like, I mean, if there was like an official betting, like sanctioned betting site, like they could be very upset actually about this game. And if there is, I mean, there might even be without my knowledge, but if there is, like, they're probably very upset about this. If this happened in Korea, there'd be like an investigation, as we were.
Oh, by the way, in a sane world, even in Europe, this should actually happen. Like, the first thing, I'm not joking, that should happen when that game finishes and the way it was played out is there should literally be a police investigation of anyone who placed bets on Astralis before the game, because an obvious information leak would be the motherfucking coach just telling his friends that. Now, I'm not saying he did that, but my point is, you have now opened a can of worms nobody wants opened. But it actually should happen, Mother, because for all we know, that could be what was going on. I mean, it doesn't seem like it was, but that's the problem with doing these sorts of stupid moves.
Yeah, you get away with this, and what happens when it really happens later, right?
Yeah, I want to be very clear. There is absolutely no evidence that any kind of betting scandal happened, but this is how betting scandals happened. And I totally agree with you that the biggest problem to me is that there could be an actual inside betting scandal that as a result of this action, right?
Yeah, so I wouldn't assume, nobody is assuming that happened, but like these sort of situations can lead to these could be created by such scenarios, obviously. So
and there's no way ever to do this accurately, because if teams want to soft into game and make it look like they're trying, they can do that, and no one will ever be able to argue with that. Sure. It's more the hard inting.
Oh, by the way, there's the other problem as well. People also don't make that distinction, because listen, I don't give a fuck about the idea of like, it's not that you have to play your hardest. Like, I would do that and Wolf would do that in this scenario. It's actually more of like an Asian thing. It is kind of like Bushido code in some sense. You have to show some level of respect to your opponent and yourself by bringing.
But you also want to hide strats.
But that's the problem. People are going to go, yeah, but Thorin, he hides strats, right? All we're saying is just play normal meta champions. You don't have to do anything that you normally... All you have to do is just pick characters that fit the fucking role. In this case, they didn't just pick troll picks. They even did role swaps that don't even make sense. So, like, there is a happy medium between the two. Like, if they wanted to just, as you say, just don't show anything, play a fun game, just play normal champions and just let whatever happen. Do an ARAM in that scenario, you know.